Howdy once again everyone, and today I'm checking out a new lens from Chinese manufacturer TTArtisan, their new 75mm f1.5 Swirly Bokeh lens for full-frame mirrorless cameras, which is optically designed to offer a special swirly bokeh pattern in your out-of-focus backgrounds when shooting at f1.5. Neat! It only offers this effect really when shooting on a full-frame camera in the corners and at certain distances from your subject, at least about 1.5 meters. Stop down to f2.8 or so and the bokeh becomes relatively normal again. This is intended to be a special effect lens, not some kind of really sharp optic for critical shooting, although I will be doing my usual sharpness tests anyway. Its price is $269 or about £211 here in the UK, which is potentially good value, and I'd like to thank TTArtisan for sending me a copy of this interesting lens for evaluation, although as usual this is a totally independent review. The build quality of this lens is very typical of an inexpensive manual focus Chinese optic, except with one particular quirk. TTArtisan have released this on the antiquated M42 screw mount, whose origins date back to 1938. Whenever companies do this kind of thing, they tell me that it's due to market demand. Oh well, it's their business and I guess they know what they're doing, but it's still very easy to get M42 adapters to almost any camera system, as I'm doing here for this review, adapting the lens onto the mirrorless Canon RF mount. You should take into consideration that the adapter you need will be an extra bulk and expense. Also, TTArtisan advertise that this lens will not work properly on older Nikon F mount cameras, even when used with an adapter for whatever reason. It's a slightly oddly shaped lens also, but it does work fine. The lens is made of metal and feels nice and tough, although it doesn't enjoy any weather sealing. The focus ring is very smooth to turn and precise enough for shooting at f1.5. The aperture ring has nice clicks to it at every half an f-stop, although the f-stops get kind of bunched up the more you stop down. Its iris mechanism has 9 blades to it. The lens does show some focus breathing, as you can see here. I have seen worse before, but this could still be an issue for video making. The lens's front filter size is a small 58mm wide. It does not come with a lens hood, unfortunately. Overall, it's a lens that's really quite odd in some ways, but with a little practice it handles absolutely fine. Anyway, image quality. As I said before, this is a special effect lens, so it's not designed with sharpness in mind, but I'll be testing it today adapted onto a Canon EOS R5 camera anyway, with its full-frame 45MP sensor. In-camera corrections are not available for this lens. At f1.5, the lens's resolution is obviously quite soft in the middle, although contrast seems to be okay. You don't have to move far away from the middle to see very strong softness emerging across the whole rest of the picture, along with terrible contrast. Let's drop down to f2. The corners, and indeed the majority of the image frame, looks the same here, but back in the middle we now see lots of sharpness with very good contrast, although we also catch a little purple fringing on contrasting edges here. Stop down to f2.8 for image quality to become absolutely perfect in the middle, and back in the corners things are still poor, but some kind of image is beginning to pull through. f4 sees a huge improvement in contrast, although even at f5.6 and f8 we never see great sharpness in the image corners. That's as sharp as the lens gets. So, as you can see, it really is a special effect lens we're dealing with here for getting that neat bokeh effect rather than for anything else. One good thing though, even at f1.5 it still offers quite decent contrast in your images. Okay, let's take a look at distortion and vignetting. At f1.5 we see darkness in the image corners that slowly brightens up as you stop down from f2 to f2.8. In terms of distortion, the lens projects only a negligible amount of bevel distortion here. Okay, let's see about close-up image quality. At f1.5 we see tons of softness and colourful ghosting here. At f2 there's an improvement, at f2.8 sharpness is okay, and at f4 it's a little better again. How does this lens work against bright light? We are definitely seeing some broad flaring patterns here, although it's not as bad as I had been expecting. Still, a lens hood would have been particularly helpful. Let's take one more look at the lens's bokeh then. That's the lens's key selling point, and I have to admit it's very striking. Although it's perhaps not the swirliest bokeh I've ever seen, that prize goes to the Lomography Petful 55mm f1.7 Mark II lens, although that particular optic costs a lot more money. And finally, related to bokeh, let's take a look at longitudinal chromatic aberration. If you look carefully through the low contrast here, you can spot a little colour fringing on bokeh highlights. Stop down to f2 or f2.8 though, and it's pretty much gone. Overall, well, it's clear we're dealing with a lens intended for special effects here, and not great optical quality. That much is clear, as it's one of the softest lenses I have ever tested. Still though, its images are very artistic, and the swirly bokeh effect is undeniably cool. And I will say this, its images do have a decent amount of contrast, even at f1.5. Quirky, 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 but fun, and if these are the kind of images you are after, then it could just about be worth it. I hope you enjoyed that video. I sure enjoyed putting it together. Special thanks to all my supporters over on Patreon. I really appreciate your help in keeping this channel going, and Patreon supporters get all kinds of exclusive bonus content to enjoy too. Check out the link in the description below, and ciao for now.